It is TGIF, TGIF, TGIF. So here we go. What a week it's been. Camera seems a little tall, a little on the high side on that one. Here we go. And hello, South Florida. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Real Estate Show, the TGIF edition. That's TGIF to the third power. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Florida. And thank God the week is finished. And what a great week we had this week. What a busy week. You know, it's the second week of our new year process here, where we made July 1st the new year. We're going to take advantage and make this 2020 count. And I'll tell you that we got the week off to a super good start. I'm going to tell you today's show is brought to you by TimeToFixMyCredit.com. You know, we've had a lot of interest in business really pick up on our website that sponsors this program, TimeToFixMyCredit.com. And what we have found out that this is really an important time for a lot of people out there. If you're a person looking at possibly selling your property, but concerned about, will I be able to get a mortgage when I go to buy another house? The time to be going after and fixing those issues or consulting someone about that is right now. If you are a person who's in forbearance, Time to Fix My Credit is an absolute must for you as a tool, both to protect, because there's a credit repair aspect as well as a credit monitoring and a credit protection aspect to that service. Really a tremendous program. So as we started off the week, you know, we were talking about the four principles, laying out the agenda for the week, and really telling you that between our Tuesday show. Now, Tuesday was a return of the foreclosure man, and he's become a regular fixture for our Tuesdays for a number of reasons. Number one is that we are carefully watching and monitoring the situation with the foreclosure moratoriums and the eviction stoppage. All of this is really artificially supporting a number of folks that probably were already teetering on the edge of some financial distress and difficulty before the pandemic was announced on March 11th. And so what this only did is, number one, it is probably exacerbated, made it worse, and at the same time froze the problem or kicked the can down the road a little bit, if you will. So you're still going to have to face the piper, but now it's been delayed when that will happen. The problem is, for example, and I've seen this happen very much back in the Great Recession of 2007 and 2008, when many people found out or could not, the banks rejected their payments if they weren't paid in full, or they fell behind and, you know, they were basically betting against time. Once they stop making the mortgage payment, just like they're doing here in the forbearance, I'm finding that a lot of people are not using that money to save it to pay it back, because it will have to be paid back. Instead, they're using that to make ends meet, and in some cases to stimulate the economy, if you will. And what ends up happening is that the money's not going to be there, and especially for those that were already fragile going into the pandemic, this is going to be probably the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, what's going to happen with all of this? I've heard all sorts of hypotheses. I've heard lots of rumors I haven't seen the facts. But I am telling you this, that the pressure is building for those moratoriums to end. And again, number one, if they don't end, they're going to be a lot more selective. For example, the moratorium was really designed to be something to help those affected by the COVID pandemic. Now, if you still have your job, your income is still going forward, then you shouldn't be participating in the forbearance. And definitely, you shouldn't be not paying your rent at this time. There's no reason not to do that. This is for those that were getting sick, affected, and out of work because they couldn't work, or those that were affected by the unemployment. We're going to talk about that in today's program as well. So the foreclosure man and I have had some interesting debates. I think this last Tuesday, he went deep into the history and some of maybe some of the nefarious aspects of what's going on in the background of the mortgage industry. Regardless, we want to get back on track and focusing on the fact that foreclosure management is a very revolutionary concept that the foreclosure man has brought here to the real estate show. And you're going to hear a lot more about it next Tuesday when we go into not only the reasons for it, but what it can do. One of the things that I saw, for example, back in 2007, 2008, were the enormous number of people that were unable to get good representation. Oh, they had an attorney, but many of these attorneys started collecting money, taking retainers, and then not fighting the foreclosure at all. Why? Because many of them were ill-equipped or uneducated in that area of law. They were great title attorneys, and they got into foreclosure defense. They were bankruptcy attorneys and thought that, well, that's one method, but one tool is not the only tool in foreclosure prevention. If you were listening to some of our old shows back during the 2007 and 8 recession, we had 9 different ways to stop a foreclosure. 9, okay? And so when all you have is one tool, bankruptcy, then every problem looks like a hammer, looks like a nail. And that put a lot of people in a disadvantage against the banks because, again, bankruptcy doesn't stop a foreclosure, it only delays it. It puts it on hold while a bankruptcy is either discharged or dismissed. And either way, once one of those two things happen, the property goes right back into foreclosure, and the end result is the same unless you find a compelling defense or a reason. So you're going to like the future episodes of the Foreclosure Man, but I wouldn't miss, if you missed any of the first 3 episodes, go back and listen on our webpage at automaticlandlord.com or on our Facebook page. Just go back to the 3 Tuesdays prior. Easier done on our website, automaticlandlord.com. You can go there by date and you can see it very easily there. So that was our Tuesday show. Now, what we're going to do is, before I jump into the Wednesday, which we had a whole bunch of updates, including the second stimulus check and some of the other headlines. In fact, I did sort of a sampling of all the headlines, how contradictory and confusing they may be. And one of the things that we're trying to do here is just to try to cut through a lot of the noise and let you know where to be in the real estate market. Our job is not so much to predict, but to prepare you for what's coming, so that no matter which way the government decides to go with this whole moratorium, with the stimulus and everything else that's pandemic related, that you're going to be prepared and be able to take a great advantage. Now we're going to talk about our Wednesday updates and then our Thursday show, which was awesome show. If you missed that one, again, that's a definite one that you want to come back to. But first, let's go ahead and take a quick break here. A few words from our sponsors. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Wilner. I am your host here on The Real Estate Show, and I also will be right back. So some interesting developments. Here's a cool thing, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it when we go back on the air. But you're all familiar with Airbnb, right? Well, now there is something called Swimply, which is now you can Airbnb, or basically you can rent a swimming pool by the hour, by the day, by the week if you don't have one. And you just think about that here now in this whole pandemic situation. You've got people now dying for a pool, dying to get out of their apartments, and they're actually going online, and you can go rent a pool for your family, your friends, and so forth. By the way, to all the YouTube channel and the Facebook channel, cheers. Did we find out what the name of this was? Cucumber Delicious. It is a super refreshing drink, and you know, we like to have a little bit of fun on our Friday happy hour edition of the Real Estate Show. And man, these things are delicious. What's the other thing I wanted to share with real estate news? So how's everybody doing out there? Are you guys having a good week? Was it a good week? We had a number of folks on the automatic debt solution. You know, if I were to look back at the week, we saved over $500,000 for investors and homeowners in cutting out their mortgage payments. Just this last week, not counting the week before and the week before. And it's been a real fun experience. Combining that with timetofixmycredit.com, it's been nothing but a fun and exciting ride this week. Looks like we're coming back here. Here we go. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show through good times and bad times. And now I'm even going to add through pandemics and all. The Real Estate Show here is here to guide you, give you good information, you know, unbiased. This is just straight down the middle, good financial and real estate information. And what we saw this week, like I was talking on the break to our Facebook Live audience, is that we saved, I think, over $500,000 in interest just this week with folks talking about the automatic debt solution, which we've now actually affectionately call the automatic landlord debt shredder, because we have been just on average, you know, we can cut a mortgage life down from one third to one half of the time saved. And when you look at that, so on average, we're seeing about a 40% drop in real estate interest paid, on lines of credit interest paid, on boat interest paid, and so forth. So someone was talking to me during the week, and he says, you know, Eric, when I listen to your show, it's kind of like the first half of the week, you're helping people who are behind. You're talking about fixing credit and the aspects of getting their business lined up. So you're sort of giving them the momentum. Then you pause in the middle of the week and you talk about the midweek report. And then the rest of the week, you start talking about shredding debt and advancing. And especially because a lot of people feel like the first half of the year was a loss. They didn't get any progress. It's hard to find good deals in a market that's basically stopped. And it's hard to be saving money in the middle of a pandemic. What do? Do you just sit there and wait it out? And you know, our answer to that is definitely no. And that's why if you want to call for a free analysis, and that's what we do, is what we offer, is say, listen, if you have a mortgage, if you have debt, you don't even have to have a mortgage, because it's not just mortgage debt. If you have, I would say, over $30,000 in debt, then you ought to be getting this free analysis that we're talking about, because with as little as $30,000, we'll probably save you probably close to 30-40% of that, and then so it makes worthwhile the time and effort and energy to get into that. Now, when you have a mortgage of 200, 300, or a million, forget it. The numbers become mind-blowing. We're going to save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that may be on one person. So you want to talk about a way to pay off your debt in 1/2 to 1/3 of the time. You want to talk about how to save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, all with basically taking the algorithms at the bank. When they came up with the formula for amortization, they're basically front loading all of the interest on the first part of the loan. You may even get a great interest rate, maybe 3.5%, 4%, maybe. Last week, in fact, on our midweek report, we talked about new record lows of interest rates. You can actually get a 3% rate on your mortgage for 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can lock in an interest rate for the next 30 years at 3%, I promise you that when the pandemic is over, you're going to be investing at rates way higher than 3%. So if you can lock in those kind of borrowings now, you're going to be way ahead. And in fact, if you have any doubt or question about that, then go to our website, go to our Facebook page, and book a free appointment. Just at the top right-hand corner of the page is where the button says book an appointment. It's absolutely free, and a quick conversation. I'll get just a snapshot of where you are, and I'll tell you, I'll be able to show you where there are hidden tens of thousands of dollars that you could save. That, by the way, is money that you otherwise would be paying the bank. You could get a low interest rate even now, but with the amortization schedule, more than 2/3, more than 3/4 of your payment is going into. That's right. In fact, Cal, one of our listeners, got under 2%, 2.75% on a new home purchase right now on a 30-year mortgage. So you can just imagine the 15s are now down probably around 2.5 right now. So the time to lock this in, there couldn't be a better time. If you're able to get a mortgage, you should run, not walk, to go lock in your 30-year mortgage around 3%. Now, if you can't get a mortgage right now, then Tuesdays is your day. And like I said, there are the sponsors of today's show, timetofixmycredit.com. Go online, check out that website. There's a cool little video that gives you an idea, and then book an appointment to talk about that, because I'm going to show you, we have a method, that is, you can call it a method or a madness, but we are rocking people's credit scores. There are techniques. It starts with disputing items on your credit report, many of which may be flat out erroneous. Then you got to dispute the things that are technically not done correct, right? Sometimes you may hire a lawyer to dispute a traffic ticket. Were you speeding? Yes, you were. Can that lawyer defend you and save you a bunch of money? Most likely they can, and they can because they understand the laws intimately, and they will then use some technicality to give you a second bite at the apple. Maybe give you a second chance to keep your record clean for now, because it's not a regular thing. And the same thing goes here. We've got credit attorneys, credit specialized attorneys. So the first thing we do is we attack the easy stuff to get rid of. There's a lot of junk, a lot of noise on people's credit reports that just needs to be cleaned up and simplified. That alone might clean up your credit. Then a little bit of education on how to square out your balances, where to put it, what to pay first. It is an educational process. You will never be the same. I promise you, when you book one of our complimentary appointments, you're going to learn things that you don't learn in school, and the banks and the media, they're not telling you this stuff because it's not in the best interest of those people offering all of the products that are trying to basically tie you down, get you addicted to long-term debt. And as long as you can afford the payment, you can keep going. And this is what's going to put a huge change in the marketplace when people have more equity. They pay down their mortgages faster. They build up their savings and they can invest more. That's what makes a strong economy. So there goes. There's our Tuesday and our Thursday. And we got another and by the way, on Thursdays, following our radio show, and we only have so much time on our radio show. I had to go check the time as well. But when we're done our Thursday show talking about the debt shredder, then we're going to go into a workshop where we actually break down the nitty gritty. We go on to a Zoom workshop. It's free, absolutely free. Any of you can attend. And we demonstrate how we'll show you, even if you have one of those 3% mortgage interest rates, how without one additional dollar of expense, we can show you how to pay that 30-year loan off in 1/3 to 1/2 of the time that you normally would, simply by rearranging how, when, and where you make your payments. It's all about how to do it the most efficient way, which basically, we explained the concept in last Thursday's show about the opposing algorithms. They have their amortization schedule. They have the way that they charge, when they put the payment due dates, what their grace periods. Have you noticed the same credit card interest rate on two cards has different minimum payments? The same amount credit limit, same interest rate might have different grace periods. And by now, I hope you all know that if you only pay the minimum payment on a credit card, you're going to be paying that credit card longer than your mortgage, because they're designed to not pay off ever. Your minimum payment is barely above what your interest cost is, and then they know that you're going to keep using it. So it's a never-ending spiral downwards into more and more debt. So timetofixmycredit.com, the automatic landlord debt shredder. All this information you can get by contacting me on automaticlandlord.com. Now, I wanted to take a quick little detour going back to our Wednesday show, and on the break, I shared an interesting headline that caught my eye as I was looking at our week's headlines. Desperate for a pool? You can now rent a private one by the hour. And so there's a brand new service called Swimply, SWIMPLY, and it's been compared to Airbnb, but only for pools. So those of you out there who have a swimming pool that aren't using it and want to get some extra cash flow on the side, those of you who are locked up in high rises and don't have a pool, there's a place called Swimply that you can actually go and borrow a pool for a couple of hours, a couple of days, et cetera, et cetera. Prices range anywhere from $15 to $300 per hour, depending on the type of pool, the location, and the additional amenities offered. We were having some fun before the show when I brought that up, what we might do, because we have a pretty fun, cool pool on the lake with toys and all the other stuff that could probably do a little bit of damage there with this Swimply. Anyway, the site lists pools in 39 states as well as Canada and Australia. So you heard it here on the Real Estate Show. Then talking about the stimulus check. Now remember, on Wednesday, I gave out two really important dates. July 20th, that's Monday, and August 7th are when Congress goes into session again. So Monday, they come back into session. Now you can hear, if you're watching anything on the news, both sides are revving up and rattling their swords because they're going to go to battle between the 7th of August and the 20th of July. Now, some of the politicians have said, listen, if you guys, I'm willing to stay until we get a deal hammered out. And so that next stimulus package goes out, the HEROES package, which has been proposed but has not yet been approved. Approved by Congress, held up in the Senate right now. And of course, the president, who is very adamant about the payroll tax reduction, which I think, by the way, is a very good idea. If you can lower the payroll taxes, that's an incentive for people who do work, who are working. We don't want to have an incentive that's counterproductive to people wanting to go back to work. We want incentives that lowers the cost for employers to bring people back to work and puts more money in the pockets of the workers that are actually out there working to bring back that economy. So I'm big on I think that's one of the parts that needs to stay in. And there's too many other pieces. But stimulus check number 2, that's what everybody's asking about, or a second round of stimulus checks could be coming soon. The debate is still on whether it's going to be a one-time check, who gets it, are they going to have a cap on the income so that those folks there that most need it get it, or whether it will be, and what is a fair level of cap when that goes out. But when will those payments arrive? That's the critical issue, because right now, especially with the pandemic advancing, that I think that the stimulus is needed more and more. We're going to find out in the next 2 weeks, starting this coming Monday. You're going to hear a lot about it, and we're going to give daily updates on where we think this is going and what you need to do to make sure. Remember, those people who hadn't filed their 2018 or 19 taxes weren't included in the first round of the stimulus check. Well, I hope you got your paperwork together, and we're going to find out what it is that you need to have ready. I'm sure it's going to be more than just the 18s. Now, I'm sure it's going to be the 19s and possibly some other criteria as well. So we're always also going to be watching the unemployment figures as they're coming out, because in June, the unemployment dropped to 12.3, which was a great improvement from the 14.7, and that's also going to affect it. So anyway, the music is coming in my ear here. That means that I'm on my way out there. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my my cucumber cocktail and enjoy the rest of the weekend as well. And I hope you do the same. Remember to join us live again here Monday through Friday from 8 until 8:30 live, or check us out on our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. Thank you, timetofixmycredit.com, for sponsoring the show. Until tomorrow, drive safe, wash those hands, and God bless America. Thanks, Ken. You have a good weekend. So let me sign off here on the radio. I'm going to sign off at the same time here on our YouTube page. I'm jumping over to the Facebook Live, and I'll see you guys again on our next show. Thanks for being here on YouTube. And I want to